And good morning. I am recording this for Tuesday, January 14th. This is officially our third video lecture class. Welcome to TOK Class 3. What do you know? Not much. You? Today we're going to be taking a little bit of a deep dive into TOK, how it works, where it fits in your course studies, how it relates to other elements of the diploma program, and what the component elements are. I don't need you to take extensive notes today. This is an overview, and we will be taking more detailed notes on each of these sections as we break them down individually in later courses. Today is the overview, and I'd rather have you paying careful attention to the discussion today than worrying about recording every bit of note. One of the interesting things about the IB diploma program that a lot of people don't talk about extensively is that there's no real distinction in IB among the different courses. All classes are equal. Your Language 2 or Language 1 class matters just as much to your diploma as your arts or experimental science, individuals in society. The distinction between core and elective classes is really eliminated in the diploma program. To use modern phrasing, all courses matter. Instead, for the diploma program, the core, the center of the hexagon, is composed of three common elements. That is your extended essay, your creativity, action, and service, or CAS requirement, and your theory of knowledge course. These are considered the common elements that bind the different pieces of your individual IB experiences together. TOK is the ligaments, the sinews, it's the connective tissue. Theory of knowledge provides you, intellectually speaking, with the deep structures to connect the courses of your diploma program, all the different content. Everything you learn as an IB student should, through the lens of TOK, provide illumination onto the human experience. This makes TOK your common thread. It is the one thing that every course has in common. All of your IB courses have a connection to theory of knowledge, and vice versa. The relationship of the different elements of TOK is often expressed through the TOK diagram. Now, this has been revised a couple of times since its initial visualization in the early days of IB. The current version of the TOK diagram looks something like you see here on the right. We're going to go into this in a lot more depth, but here is our overview. Let's start by zooming into the center. At the center of TOK are the knower or knowers. This encourages us to understand not only our own place as a learner, but also the value and relevance of others. TOK and the IB program puts the recognition of other people's knowledge and other people's right to hold their opinions, even where they disagree, as being fundamental. It doesn't mean we have to agree with another's opinions, but we have to respect their right to have them. We come to our knowledge in individual ways, and this leads to individual results. No man can step twice into the same river, as the Zen koan puts it. The idea that although the structure is similar, the experience is individual. And Zooming all the way out for a moment, the outside of the diagram is composed here in primarily in blue, the areas of knowledge. Areas of knowledge are AOKs, which makes it sound like it's just all right. No, AOK. This is a way of organizing knowledge. And while we understand that the categories are not some kind of complete taxonomy, well, does this belong to human science or natural science, or how do you differentiate between a religious or indigenous knowledge if you're dealing with a traditional religious system of an indigenous peoples? It's not meant to be an exclusive scientific taxonomy. It's broad classifications based on the nature of the differing content. Depending on what you know, it more naturally fits into one of these categories than another. The areas of knowledge that are common to TOK include ethics. Ethics has to do with fundamentals of moral decision making. Essentially, how do we treat ourselves, each other, and our environment? What is our obligation to try to do good? And is there an absolute or relative good for the most number of people? The study of past decisions, actions, and consequences falls into the area of history. Mathematics, or maths, are an area of knowledge. There's an interesting argument, by the way, as to whether or not mathematics is something which exists and waits to be discovered, or if it is a body of knowledge which is created, like the arts. There's actually debate among mathematicians whether math is a thing or a process, whether it is invented or discovered. So that's something I look forward to talking to you about in the future. I know that some of you are more enthusiastic about math than others. I will freely admit that my enthusiasm for math is backed up in no way by any real talent or ability, but I do have a best friend who's a mathematician, and I keep him on call for just such an emergency. We also have, in our areas of knowledge, the arts. This includes visual and performing arts. So you have everything from sculpture to slam poetry, interpretive dance to calligraphy. The expression of aesthetics forms the arts. We have two branches of science, natural and human sciences. Natural sciences would include things like biology, chemistry, physics, also sometimes called the experimental sciences. The rule of thumb that I use is if you can come up with an experiment where you kill something or blow something up, it's natural science. And if you're not allowed to kill it or blow it up because it's a person, you're dealing with human sciences. Human sciences are more complicated because they deal with human beings, so they tend to focus on the predictive behavior of groups. An economist cannot predict how much you personally will pay for a new Justin Bieber song, if anything. An economist can, however, quite accurately predict in a large number of people, given a large amount of data, such as past pricing, availability of alternative products, market pressures, availability, uniqueness, newness, fashion, how much we would pay on average for a new Justin Bieber song. So natural sciences are descriptive and predictive. Human sciences are also descriptive and predictive, but typically only en masse, in a larger scale. The last two areas, and they're very similar, are religious knowledge systems and indigenous knowledge systems. The easy way to look at these two areas of knowledge, religious knowledge is based on the religious or spiritual teachings that you absorbed in your youth, from your culture, usually at an age where you are not critically thinking about the knowledge. Often we don't know exactly how we learned what we know of our religious knowledge. It's baked into our formulation as young adults and people of faith. Having said that, religious knowledge systems, like the human sciences, function on a large scale level. Um, we can make generalizations about Catholics, Protestants, Buddhists, agnostics, atheists. We cannot, however, use a broad label like atheist to describe the beliefs of any two individuals and expect that we know everything they know. Indigenous knowledge systems are similar, except rather than being based on your faith tradition, they are based on your cultural or ethnic tradition. Again, we could make generalizations. We could say that that Irish people like to drink and fight, whereas Navajo people like to observe and reflect. Now, obviously, those kinds of statements are easily turned into stereotypes and prejudice. But indigenous knowledge systems point to how we understand our own culture and its relationship to other cultures. Again, much of this happens for many of us before we're consciously aware of the process of learning. You can consider your indigenous knowledge baked in to your cultural, family, historical tradition. Now, to get those areas of knowledge to the knower, to create meaningful, individual, personalized knowledge from those broad areas of knowledge, we use one or more of the ways of knowing. And I'm going to just run through these very simply. If you know something because someone told it to you or you read it in a book, that's language. If you learned it previously and you know it because you knew it yesterday and have not forgotten it since then, that would be memory. The majority of our knowledge currently exists as memory, no matter how you originally learned it. Things that you directly observe, that you smell, taste, touch, feel, these are your sense perception. Always be careful of someone who says, well, I'll believe it when I see it, because we will demonstrate that sense perception is actually very unreliable. It's easy to confuse your senses because they work at a biological and chemical and physical level as opposed to at a pure cognitive level. They are the stuff of the body, not of the mind directly. And the interface between those two is often much more complicated than you might assume. If you have an idea that's in your head because you created it, you thought it originally, that is your imagination. Imagination is a powerful source of knowledge. Well, how can it be knowledge if I just made it up? Just because you made it up doesn't mean it ain't so. We will look at imagination as a way of knowing in some detail. Emotion, similar to imagination, emotion deals with our emotional responses to situations. How do you know that you love someone? How do you know that you loathe, you can't stand, you despise someone? This is usually not language, memory, sense perception. It is an emotional response. And emotional knowledge is legitimate knowledge. If you hate broccoli, not just the taste, but the idea, the mere mention, the visualization of those little happy green trees just makes your stomach turn and your jaw clench and your palms sweat, okay? That knowledge for you is real. It's just as real as your ABCs, just as real as your telephone number or your class schedule. Intuition Often our thinking processes are not strictly logical. Human beings have evolved a very complex system for reaching conclusions that are good conclusions based on imperfect data. You don't need to know all the facts before you can often fill in the blanks. Uh, whether it's Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, I've got a bad feeling about this, or that gut instinct that a parent has that that man over there just shouldn't be trusted with children. Um, Often intuition is the unconscious or subconscious integration of unrecognized knowledge. That's a fancy way of saying we take things that we don't realize we know and we put them together to make conclusions that, even though we're not able to list out how we reach the conclusion, we are confident. There's a lot of evidence that that young mothers or pregnant women have a heightened ability to detect sociopaths. And they almost always describe the feeling as being creeped out. There's something about that person that just creeps me out. It gives me the willies. I get a bad feeling. Well, it turns out that's a measurable, accurate thing. And what we think it is, or what social scientists tell us it might be, is that a combination of visual cues, pheromones, literally how someone smells, subconscious social cues, have evolved to tell young mothers which of the other primates should not be trusted to look after the children. It's a powerful survival mechanism, and there's some interesting literature on that subject. Reason. Sometimes, as strange as it seems, we actually think our way through to knowledge. We get information, we think about it, we manipulate it, we use logic, and we're able to put together conclusions which hold up. Sometimes we don't have a logical description, we have faith. Faith is the confidence in things not seen. There's a lot of debate as to whether faith is a quote-quote legitimate way of knowing. Here's the thing. Whether it's legitimate to someone else doesn't alter that you have faith in the things in which you have faith. Whether that is a religion, a person, a sports team, whatever it is, if it engenders a faith response in your brain, then you're not going to be able to challenge it with reason, intuition, language, memory, and so on. So that's a quick overview of the TOK diagram, the areas of knowledge and the ways of knowing. So to summarize, everything that you know, the green core here, the knower, belongs to one or more of the areas of knowledge, and it becomes known to us through one or more of the ways of knowing, whether that is by a conscious process or not. Well, that wraps up our discussion of the TOK diagram. Let's talk briefly about our first writing assignment. I had you read, I believe it was 3 or more of the This I Believe essays. And if you have not done that, please see the original video or go to thisibelieve.org for guidance on how to write the essays, what the expected format is, and so on. I will be giving you more detail. Essentially, your assignment for this essay is to write a personal essay that expresses a personal belief or philosophy supported with evidence. Now, because it's personal, the evidence will be personal as well. You're not looking to prove something. You're looking to tell us what you believe and why you believe it. You will use the This I Believe essays as your template. While some of the examples you've been given can act as a model, the critical thing here is it must be personal. Don't write what you think sounds good. Write something that you feel strongly about. Tell a story. Your personal experiences are the cornerstone of good essay, or at least a good "this I believe" essay. It doesn't have to be a heartbreaker or a major event. There's always the student who wants to embellish to make it sound good or sound dramatic. It has to be something that has affected how you think and feel. This is your belief. The essay should be brief. Excuse me. The "This I Believe" essay is between 350 and 500 words. That means when you read it aloud, and you may be asked to read these aloud at some point, it should take about 3 minutes. It's critical that you name your belief. You have to explicitly name your belief in a sentence or two. Focus on one. This is your thesis. I believe that robots are stealing our luggage. You need to be able to point to the sentence where you tell me what you believe. Be positive. Avoid preaching, arguing. Write about what you believe, not what you don't believe. Penn Jillette, in his essay, wrote about "I believe in no God." He didn't say "I don't believe in God." That would have violated the rules. He said he actively believes in no God. Use the first person. You are talking about your belief. Don't say one believes. You're not Prince Charles. Yes, one believes that a certain belief that one has is challenging. No. Avoid "we" or "you." Don't wrap us up into your belief. Talk about your experience with your belief. And finally, I want your voice. I want to hear an essay that sounds like you. Strongly advise you to read aloud. Keep making changes until it sounds like you and captures the essence of your belief. I will be getting you a PDF copy of this assignment along with a checklist to use during your revision. I want your finished final drafts ready to be turned in on Thursday the 23rd. That's not this Thursday, but Thursday next week. It's a quick turnaround, but it's a very short essay that doesn't require research, it doesn't require investigation, so you should be able to turn this around probably in the leftover class time that you have on account of these short videos. Anytime, speaking of short videos, anytime you have left today, you could use to discuss "This I Believe" or to work on your essays, or essays, according to this slide. And one thing I hadn't mentioned, once I'm there and we are in the classroom environment, I always hate two things. Well, I hate a lot of things, but two things that I hate about the end of class is I hate when students are standing at the door like track stars in the starting blocks, waiting for the bell to ring to go shooting like projectiles into the hallway. You'll know it's time to go because I'll dismiss you. I don't want to be one of those, "The bell doesn't dismiss you." Well, as a matter of fact, it doesn't. The bell is there to tell us as teachers it's okay for us to let you go, that you're not going to be in trouble for wandering the hall. Now, having said that, I understand you've got classes to get to, you've got bathroom breaks, you've got those urgent text messages that you just have to return, those critical Instagram posts because you are influencers. Whatever you need to do, I won't keep you late if you allow me time to dismiss you. And I will always do that with these words: thank you for your work. I don't believe students receive enough praise for doing what we ask you to do. So I will end every class by thanking you for the work that you've done for me. As far as I'm concerned today, I thank you for your work. This is the end of today's lesson 3. Again, please follow up with email if you have questions, comments, or concerns. I have not heard from any of y'all yet, so I'm guessing you're just breezing through this with nary a question, and I'm sure that will keep up. Thank you very much. Thanks for your work. Have a great day.